if you're thinking about doing sealed system repairs in your appliance repair business, there are going to be some specialty tools that you will need in order to be able to complete those repairs. You won't be able to use just regular hand tools. You have to have some specialty tools to actually be able to do the sealed system repairs. And I'm going to show you all of the sealed system tools that I use for my repairs in my appliance repair business. Also, if you're thinking about starting your own appliance repair business, I'm going to leave a link down in the description below, and you'll have access to an absolutely free course that teaches you how to get started with your own appliance repair business. But really quick, I'm going to turn you around real quick just so I can show you all of my sealed system tools. So this is pretty much it in an overview, really quick. Just looking at everything. I didn't want to put these on my counter because they're like dirty stuff. But anyway, so starting back over here, this right here, this is an electronic leak detector, okay? So whenever you get into sealed system repairs, a lot of the times you're going to have it to where there's going to be a leak in the sealed system. So what you'll have to do is you have to try to use something such as this tool, an electronic leak detector, to sniff out the leak, like literally sniff out the leak. So this is the tool. You turn this thing on and it gets warmed up. It's got a heated diode in there, so it gets warmed up, and it's actually like pulling in air and different stuff. So the hopes are that it's going to pull in refrigerant if it detects any, and this thing would just go beeping. It would go crazy if it detects a refrigerant leak. So I like to use this so that way I can like sniff around the evaporator, and then whenever it starts to hit really hard, like this right here will go way up to here. It goes and it goes way up to here. Whenever it does that, I try to figure out which area that's coming from. And then I like to use bubbles, just regular old, they're like soap bubbles. I just buy them from United Refrigeration, and I think they're called Blue. They're just pretty much soap, and I spray that area until I can find bubbles, so I can find the actual leak, because I like to see the leak, because sometimes these electronic leak detectors, they'll pick up like false readings. But sometimes it's kind of hard to dispute whenever that thing goes way up there and it's pegged out. That you're onto something. But I still like to see the leak. But this is a really good tool to get you in the vicinity. Is the leak on the left side of the evaporator? Is it on the right side of the evaporator? Is it at the inlet? Is it on wherever? So this will get you in the area, and then I use the soap bubbles to actually find and see the actual leak where it's bubbling up from. So this. Maybe not quite essential, but for me it is. I would have to say this is essential for me, because I don't like to just say, well, you're low on gas, so you got a leak in the evaporator. It might not be a leak in the evaporator. It might be a leak in the heat exchanger. So I like to use this. For me, it is essential. You might not have to start out with it, but every one of my techs gets one of these whenever they are starting off. So this right here is a digital scale. So whenever you are, and it comes in this pouch, which is really nice. So that way I can put it in the pouch. I just took it out because it's kind of hard to get this out with one hand and hold the camera. But it goes in this carrying case, so it's really nice. Fits in there perfect. This goes right there in that open spot. So everything's nice and compact, and keeps itself together. But you'll put your tank on here, and then you turn this on, and it'll tell you in ounces. It might even do grams, but I always use ounces. It lets you know in ounces how much refrigerant you're putting into the sealed system. I just like digital stuff. As a matter of fact, you might see a little pattern here. Bunch of field piece stuff. I'm a field piece guy. That's just the way I am. I found tools that work. They work well, so I just stick with them. But this is a wireless refrigerant scale. I really love it because I can put this, I can put my tank, and I can sit this kind of over there out the way, so that way I'm not touching hoses and messing up the scale and stuff, so I can put this kind of away, and I can hold this wherever I want to, and I can weigh in my charge, and I'm over here and the scale's over there, so it doesn't matter where the scale's at, because I've got an actual Bluetooth or wireless little readout, so that's really nice. I love that. This is pretty much my favorite one. Every one of our technicians has the same exact one. That's my favorite one. So moving over here, This is my set of gauges. Okay, with sealed system repairs, you're going to need a set of gauges. There's no way around it. I like the S-Man 4, which is what this is. This is the S-Man 4. The reason why I like, well, there's a lot of reasons why I like it, but just the main reasons why I like it, for a few of them, just to point out, is for one, is digital. As you can see, digital numbers. With a regular set of gauges, you got the analog, like the dial here, the dial there, dial for your low side, dial for your high side. Those numbers, they count out in like what, 5 and 10, or maybe it's even just 10, 20, or whatever it is. So you got to kind of like look really hard and make sure that, okay, well, is it at 6 psi, is it at 7 psi, or is it 29 inches vacuum? What is it? This right here literally reads out the number for you. If it's at 52.2 psi, it's going to say 52.2 psi. If it's 11 inches of vacuum, it'll say 11 inches of vacuum. So I love the digital readout. The second thing that I really love about this set of gauges, the S-Man 4, is that it also has a micron gauge built into it. So if you don't understand yet about sealed systems, microns is a very, what's the easiest way I can say it? It's like a very low vacuum. So pretty much once this gauge gets to 29 inches of vacuum, it switches over to microns. And then you can know how many microns in a vacuum that you are in. Our target is to try to get as close to 500 microns as we possibly can. With an analog set of gauges, you'll never know if you're at 500 microns because it pegs out at 29 psi. 29 inches in a vacuum, and that's all you can see on a regular set of manifold gauges. But this actually has a built-in micron gauge, so you will know if you're at 1,000 microns, if you're at 500 microns, you'll know. But you would never be able to know that with a set of analog gauges. So that's another reason why I love the S-Man 4s. And lastly, just another one of my top reasons why I love the S-Man 4 is because you have 4 ports. So you got a low side, you got a high side, you've got your refrigerant port, and you've also got a vacuum port. So you might be wondering, why is this significant? Well, because on a regular set of gauges, you'll have a low side, you'll have a high side, and you'll have one in the middle. Only one, not two, but you have one. So you'll be able to hook up your low side, you'll be able to hook up your high side. That's the same here. But whenever it comes time to pull a vacuum and then recharge it, you have to share this middle port and that middle hose. So you will, at first, you'll have the middle port and the middle hose hooked up to your vacuum pump. You'll be vacuuming down your system. And then once you've achieved your vacuum, then you have to disconnect that hose, and then you have to hook up your refrigerant, and then you can weigh in your charge. This, you can already have your refrigerant hooked up and your vacuum pump hooked up at the same exact time. So that way you can be pulling a vacuum, your refrigerant tank can be over there settling down, because we all know that whenever you put a tank on the refrigerant on the scale, the refrigerant inside the tank is sloshing around, so it's jumping, the numbers are jumping, and I like to wait till it settles down and it stops at 0, quits jumping. So it gives you plenty of time for that refrigerant to start settling down, and then you can weigh in your charge. Only with the S-Man 4, with 4 different ports, can you do that. So that's just a few reasons why I love the S-Man 4s. Again, I found this to be a very reliable set of gauges, so we get all of our technicians this set of gauges. Okay, so the next piece that I want us to look at is our recovery machine. So whenever you are on a sealed system repair, if the sealed system has a refrigerant leak and there is no more refrigerant left in the system, well, for that job, you probably don't need a recovery machine because there's nothing to recover. But if you're going to replace a compressor and the sealed system does not have a leak, and it simply just has a bad compressor, you have to recover that refrigerant. Hopefully you know that you have to recover that refrigerant. If it's 134A, or which is the most common thing in residential refrigeration, is 134A. If it's R600, you don't necessarily have to recover it because they say it's not an ozone hazard or whatever. So R600 is fine. It's butane. But anyway, if you're recovering 134, if your system is 134, you have to recover the refrigerant. So this is the recovery machine that I use. It's an automatic machine, so pretty much it already knows when to stop. It knows when the system is pretty much empty, so it'll pull down the system until it gets to a certain inches in vacuum. Then it goes ahead and stops. So this is a really, again, field piece. This is a really good machine. So right here you can self purge it. You can flip the dial here to recover. You can flip the dial there to close, and of course you got your 2 ports over here, in and out. It's a very simple. Most every recovery machine is just fairly simple. That's what it does. It just recovers the refrigerant. So you'll need something like this. And of course, just to jump over here really quick, because you might be wondering, where does that refrigerant go to? Where is it recovered? Well, that is a recovery tank. Okay, so that's what that tank is for, is to recover the refrigerant. So you would use the recovery machine and push the gas into that tank, and then you'll have to exchange that tank, and then whoever does whatever they do with it, I don't have a clue and don't really care. So let's get this one out the way. So next, this is our vacuum pump. Okay, so this is our vacuum pump. This is a Yellow Jacket Bullet. The very first vacuum pump that I bought was a Bullet, and it worked really good. So that's just what I bought. As a matter of fact, Field Piece does make a vacuum pump, but I just, like I said, I bought the Bullet first and always liked it, so I just kept on buying Bullets. So, but anyway, this is the vacuum pump that I use. So in this one, you have the 1/4 inch adapter, or you have the 3/8 adapter, or port, whatever you want to call it. So you can use 1/4 inch, or you can use this 3/8 one, which I like the 3/8 one because it vacuums down faster. So you'll need that because you have to vacuum down your sealed systems. You can't just do the repair and then just add gas to it. It needs to be vacuumed down, and to clean the system and so forth. So that's there's your vacuum pump. All right, so let's go over to this set right here. So this is nothing more than just a portable torch kit. It is very simple. It's got a brazen torch. Okay, as you could imagine, it's just a brazen torch. And then it's got these 2 portable, oxygen and acetylene tanks. And the kit actually comes with these regulators for each one, the oxygen and acetylene. So you simply just turn your gas on. You adjust your dials right here, and you use the striker to strike up your torch, and then that's what you braze with. I would not recommend that you go and try to buy one of those map gas things with the head, the torch head. Yeah, of course you're going to save a lot of money, but that is not the right thing to do. The sealed system repairs that we do, because with evaporators and even compressors, well, for one, you need to get the metal, the tubing hot enough to start with. That map gas torch it gets hot, but it just, you can't really control it, and you're in tight spaces, and of course that map gas flame is thick and it's long, so you can't really control it. With this torch, with this brazen torch here, you can control it. I like my flame to be very skinny and about 3 inches long, and I can braze all day long with that. Perfect welds. So you need a portable torch kit like this right here. You don't really need one of those little torch heads. Even though you'll save a lot of money, I promise you it's going to be so much more headache, and it'd just be worth it to spend the extra money and get a little portable torch kit. So this is nothing other than just a nitrogen bottle. You want nitrogen to be able to purge out your systems, to be able to pressurize your systems, make sure your make sure your joints are not leaking. So you need one of these, and obviously you got to have a regulator, which will regulate your nitrogen down to your 1/4 inch tubing. So that's just a nitrogen bottle. Let's go over here really quick. I'm just going to grab this. So this is nothing more than just a Husky case that I have adopted for all of my little small stuff that you'll need with sealed system repairs. And in these little side pockets, we'll have these little process stubs that you braze on. These are my favorite ones. I buy these all the time. Whenever I get low, I buy some more. So this one is 1/8 inch, and that is the tubing. This one is 1/4 inch. So if you're replacing compressors, this is the size you're going to need. You're going to need 1/4 inch. If you have a brand new compressor, the little stub that you will braze one of these on is 1/4 inch. Now, if you are let's say replacing an evaporator, the compressor is good, and let's say you have to just cut off the stub, you might need an 1/8 inch, or you might even need a 3/16. Okay, there it is. No, I don't have any. All I got is 1/4. But anyway, there's a 3/16 one also. So that they fit better into those process stubs, which are already there, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so you'll need some of those. This is nothing more than just valves and stuff for your valves and gaskets. What do we got over here? This is This is a the valve stem core remover tool. So that way you can have it actually hooked up. You can remove the little core, pull a vacuum, or do whatever you need to do, and never lose any refrigerant or anything like that. So that's what that's for. This is a cap tube cutter, the very small little tube that goes into your evaporator, goes into your filter dryer. That's called a cap tube. This is the cutter for it. This is nothing but a deburring tool. This is a really cool tubing cutter. It has 3 wheels, 2 on that side, 1 on that side, and you can do like this, and it cuts around the whole tube instead of having to go around and around and around. But sometimes, with this bigger set, it's harder to get in tighter places. So honestly, I don't even use that very much because it's bigger and it's harder to get in different places. So filter dryers. These are the main filter dryers that I use, and these are perfect for what we do. Perfect. So I got plenty of those. These are line taps or Pearson valves, whatever people want to call them. And so if you are going to a refrigerator that's not cooling or whatever, and you test everything else, and you're like, okay, well, this has to be a sealed system issue. Obviously, you don't want to just cut the tubing off to braze one of those service ports on. In order to figure out what's really going on, you have to put something like this, a Pearson valve, onto the tubing, so that way you can go ahead and hook up your set of gauges and see what's really going on with the sealed system before you start cutting it open. So you need something like that. And this is the tubing cutter that I use. That's my main one. Okay, yeah, and this is just sanding cloth. So that way you can clean up your joints, or you can clean up your joints, but also clean up the tubing before you start brazing. So that's pretty much everything that's in this kit. So that's just a bunch of smalls. Okay, so now this last piece that I'm going to show you about, the only thing that I don't have in my van with me today, another technician's got it, so I wasn't able to show it to you today, but the only thing that I have is an R600 scale kit. So it's really cool. Actually, I'll leave a link down in the description below for that as well, so you can at least look at it. It's really cool, very simple. It's kind of like this, except everything is integrated. So a little tank of R600 sits, in with it, and then whenever you're ready to use it, you'll take the R600 and you'll screw it into the top, kind of like that, and then you can weigh through that same piece of equipment. I'll leave a link down in the description below, so that way you can at least pull it up. It's very cool. But this little thing is an amazing little tool. This is called lock ring. So what this does, I got a little example here for you. What lock ring does is it takes 2 pieces of tubing and it does a compression style fitting, so that way you don't have to use a torch. Now that's pretty awesome. But I will say I don't use this a whole lot because, well, I guess because I'm old school and I feel like my brazes are a more secure joint, so that's why I don't really use this a whole lot. But in some situations you have to use this, and the reason why is because with some manufacturers, let's say Whirlpool for example, they have gone over to R600. For one, they say you're not supposed to braze R600 because R600 is butane and it is flammable, so you might have a fire, or you might have an explosion or whatever. But I'll tell you a little secret. This is not I'm not telling you to do this, but I'm telling you what I do. I purge the system and I braze anyway. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, But here's the thing though, here's the catch. Sometimes since it's an R600 system, they send you an evaporator without this joint. See, every evaporator is aluminum over here on the left. Every evaporator is aluminum, and then from the factory they do this weld right here in the middle to copper, and then they put this shrink wrap on it so that way it keeps it from corroding. So then you have this portion of copper that you can actually braze on without melting it, because everybody knows that whenever you get aluminum hot, it can just start to melt. But copper is, has a much higher, heat rating or whatever. So anyway, but what they'll do is they figure that you're not going to be using a torch anyway, so they cut out this joint. They don't even have this joint. Everything is aluminum right on up to the place where you're supposed to be making your connection. So guess what that means? You can't use a torch unless you are really, really good at brazing aluminum, which I have done it, but I don't want to do it out there on the field or out there in the field for somebody that I'm actually trying to make a repair for, because I want everything to go right. I don't want to just say, well, I think I can do this. I want it to go right. So they'll send it to where there is no copper to braze. You have to use some type of tool like a lock ring in order to make that connection. And it's really cool. You just take a couple of drops of this. This is called anaerobic sealant. This is what you use for your lock ring joints. You dab it on either side of the fitting, and then you use the tool with these jaws, and you put it on the fitting, and you just start ratcheting away. You start and those jaws close that little tool. One second, let me get this out. All right, sorry about that. So there's the top part, and here is all of your fittings. Every one of these little compartments are different size fittings, and that's your little chart to show you, part numbers for whatever the fitting is, whatever the size is, and all that good stuff. So this is actually a really cool tool, because if you don't like brazing, if you don't like using torches inside of refrigerator compartments, then you really don't have to. You can just use the lock ring tool and do it that way. But here's the thing though, I mean, it's kind of bulky too, so you have to make sure that you can get in the refrigerator and be able to actually use the tool, and have enough room to be able to use the tool. Most of the time you can. Most of the time you can make it work. But again, the reason why I don't use this a whole bunch is just because, like I said, maybe it's because I'm old school and I figure my brazed joints will be there and they'll stand the test of time, and I don't know exactly how good these will do. Although I will say, like I told you about the evaporators, I've had to use them. I've been forced to use this tool. I had no choice. I had to use it, and I've had no problems. So I mean, chances are you won't have any problems. But like I said, it's just kind of my personal preference. I like the torch. I like a brazed up joint rather than this compression joint. But hey, you can use whatever you want to use. So yeah, this is all of my sealed system tools that I use for all of our sealed system repairs. I'm going to leave a link down in the description below under this video to each one of these tools. That way you can go and you can check them out, purchase them for yourself if you want to, or just get more details on each one of them. Also, leave a comment down below if you want me to go into greater detail on one of these tools. I'm just kind of doing a brief skim, a brief overview of the first things that popped to mind on these tools. But leave a comment down below if you want me to go into greater detail on one of these specific tools, or leave a comment down below if you need help with something. And also, like I said, I'm going to have a link down in the description below, so that way you can have access to a free course to help you get started with your own appliance repair business. All you got to do is go down there, click it, and you can get that course for free. But yeah, these are my tools, and I'll catch you later.